Welcome to Finance with Factor,
Oops, apparently we're already recording, so here we go.
a place you can come to laugh and learn from local experts who love to discuss everything related to the world of real estate.
Weird passion. It's one that I actually share a little bit, so it makes me a weirdo with you.
Each week, we'll cover a unique topic
Let's talk about condos.
to help you understand the mortgage industry, navigate the home buying process, and grow your business while maintaining a slice of sanity.
Okay, fine. I've been confused by a lot of things over the past few years.
Now that he's climbed safely atop his soapbox, here's your host, a senior loan officer with Movement Mortgage, Jason Factor.
It's really bad. Like every year I do a Christmas card that turns into a New Year's card that turns into like a middle of March card. But this year, this just used the family Christmas card. So I am obligated. I am getting them out right now. Like
Jason's
today,
like,
I'm
"Happy
dropping them in
year."
a mailbox. Yeah.
No context, just be happy. Here's
a
family.
random card. I joke that it's because I want to stand out, like everyone gets Christmas cards in
Yeah.
December. What's a Christmas card in July? Now that really makes an impact.
No, that's good. That's good marketing.
It works I can spin it to my advantage. I wouldn't say it's good
There you go.
marketing.
There you go.
Well, thank you for sitting down to do this with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. So architecture is one of my favorite things. I think I had mentioned this to you in the past, but like, I wanted to potentially become an architect at some point. Like in high school, I took a CAD class. I took an architectural design class. I had a notebook or a closet filled with graph paper drawings of ranch homes that I thought I would build someday.
Yeah.
But today's guest is not I would be the George Costanza of architects. Today's guest, Angela, is actually a trained, educated architect. She also happens to be a very talented realtor. And so I wanted to chat about architecture and some of the things that she sees and how that education kind of helps her business. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got into this, a little bit about your story, how you go from architecture to realtor.
Yeah. Well, I've always been into design, interior design. My dad has been a carpenter his whole life. So I remember being little, I would always go on job sites with him and go into these beautiful homes, and he'd be working and I would go to Home Depot and I'd pick out some finishes, and like he would just kind of let me like tag along. And then I went to community college I was going to go to school for education. I realized that's not it. And then I went to community college for interior design. And from there, I went to UMass for architecture. So I got my bachelor's of science in architecture. And then I was working at two firms, big girl jobs after school. And they were mostly commercial work, like retail spaces. So like Chipotle, Lululemon, cannabis dispensaries, Reebok, Nike, like those big retail stores, and then Roan, which I know that you
love
like.
Roan.
And
I should have worn my Roan hoodie today.
I know.
Vineyard Vines instead.
Yeah, just finished a project in Seaport right before I left my last company. But it was very, like, I loved it. I loved being a part of
But you're saying that designing a Chipotle didn't tickle your architectural fancies?
No, exactly. Because I mean, every Chipotle you go into, it looks exactly the same.
That's the goal. Yeah.
They have, they have their brand, and they know exactly. So I was just kind of doing, the floor plans and the 3D modeling of it, which it was fun actually going out to the sites. And some of the other projects, like the cannabis dispensaries and the spas, were a little bit more of design freedom for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it wasn't like tickling where it was supposed to. Like, it was fun, but I'm not meant to like sit at a desk all day from 9 to 5. But I always loved architecture. So
how do you find that playing into like that experience? How do you find that? So you go from architectural school to becoming a realtor. I assume this came about because an opportunity presented itself, or was it something that were driven into for other reasons?
Yeah, when I was working at my last design firm, COVID had hit. So I was getting really bored with just, the 9 to 5 stuff, and I wanted to have a little side hustle. And so I got my real estate license right when,
That's how
right
we
at
get you.
2021.
Yeah, that's how we get you.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
start you with a little side hustle, and then we suck people in.
Yes. So at that point, because I was working full time in architecture, I was only doing few transactions, like
Sure.
friends and rentals and things like that. And then I realized like architecture wasn't for me. Like I can't sit there and just like I love to be out on the field and like go and visit
Sure.
sites, but so then I left and I joined Lamakia in September of last year. And
And you've been
when I
having an
joined, it just,
awesome first. I mean, for what's really your first full year, you've been
yeah,
crushing it.
yeah.
So well done.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
how does that background tie into what you're doing today and some of the success that you're having, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, well, I get a lot of my clients from taking over other agents' open houses, and they ask me a lot about the house as if I'm the listing agent. And if there's something I don't know, I direct them to the agent. But if
Sure.
there is something I know, which in my background, I can tell maybe there was like water damage, or this is this kind of heater, or this is like the benefits to this roof or this style, or things like that. And I always bring it up in conversation, and people like that because, you have a background in building and architecture, and they think that it would be really beneficial to have you as an agent, having so much knowledge of how things are built and properties and design and quality and things like that.
I would imagine in a market where you see a lot of aging homes, my neighborhood, for
Hmm.
example, built in the early 80s,
Yeah.
having someone who can kind of come through and help you see past the bricks and mortar is probably
Yeah.
pretty helpful. Do you find
Yeah.
yourself engaging in a lot of those conversations in some open house living room? Here's
Yes.
what this
Yes.
could
And a
be.
lot of my
The
clients have
architectural eye.
asked, yes. Yeah. And a lot of my clients have asked my opinion on design, not just like the structure of the home, but they see maybe a fixer upper, they want to tear down some walls or do something of design, and I love to jump in and help them with that.
I know for a fact that you get very involved in some of those, not only conversations, but actual practices. Can you share a story about that? I remember one that you spoke about, literally, to go back to your childhood, going to Home Depot with a client and picking things out.
Yes. Yes. So I have a client, sell by in Billerica, and his home it has good bones. Like it's a big, beautiful colonial, but I know that he was kind of struggling to make it look nicer, have a few updates. So one of our meetings, I had gone through a list of things that I personally, out of a realtor as a designer, what I think would, for a lower cost, that would be really effective, help the home look a little bit more updated and sell better. So some of them were really simple, like sanding and painting the kitchen cabinets, or replacing some fixtures, replacing some light fixtures, doing some painting of the walls, and maybe ripping up a carpet. And he wanted to just dive in. So there was one bathroom, and it's pretty dated. The tub needs to be replaced, the floors, all that. So he asked me if I could help him and asked if I could go to Home Depot and with him and pick out some finishes. And so that's what I did. I went to Home Depot with him and we picked out some paint, we picked out some flooring, we picked out new light fixtures, we picked out actually a whole new tub and tiling. We did everything when we were there. Like we did the cabinets and the hardware, and I'll even go down to like the shower curtains and the bath mats, and like any little things that if someone doesn't feel like they have much direction, like I love to jump in and help and be part of that project with them, because
Well, that's
it's what I love to do before
it's
I was really
also,
in
I
real
mean,
estate.
as an architect, a designer, like having a design or an architect's eye and being able to walk them through that, I imagine in this case in particular, that's a pretty big success story, bringing a very outdated home into marketability. What did that look like when that process went to sale? I imagine it went a lot
So
faster.
what actually happened is we had that conversation before we hit the market. And I gave him a list of things that, he can do. And even outside of the bathroom, just like replacing some light fixtures, some fresh paint really would brighten up everything and freshen up everything. But he kind of just wanted to dive right in. So we actually hit the market. And this was very recently. So like right around the election time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was pretty slow and we
Yeah,
weren't
there
getting
was a
really
dip at
any
that point.
bites.
Yeah.
He did we had the Lamakia team come in and he did the landscape and he power washed the exterior of the house and like things like that to that a lot of people do to make their house presentable. But he didn't do any of the updates that I had.
Boo. I mean, because
So
those types of things, I imagine like I was coming at this as a buyer looking at homes saying, oh, what can we make this? How do we take an aging home and make it what we want? But I imagine your experience and having that architectural or architect's eye is even more beneficial when it comes to listing homes because
yeah,
we all know getting it to marketability, there's a difference between livability and marketability.
absolutely. Yeah, so he didn't end up doing any of those updates, and I suggested that we take the home off the market for 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
So when MLS, if you take a home off the market, you have to pass a 60-day threshold
Yep.
for it to go back on the market and show as a new property instead of back on the market. So I suggested to do that, and then during this time, he's going to do those updates.
Yep.
So that's when I went to Home Depot and I was picking out all those things with him. He's going to have someone come in and do the flooring. He's going to do some updates in the kitchen and the paint. And hopefully, and the 60 days will be up in the beginning of January. So it's coming up. And hopefully, the new year in the spring market will have a little bit more traction, not just because of the market, but because his house is prepped and it's ready and it's updated and
It's essentially a story
hopefully.
of rescuing a home from itself, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like here's someone who wanted to rush to put something on market despite the better advice of their listing agent, and then they realize a trained professional does actually know what they're talking about. Let's go through and drag her to Home Depot and make her pick out all the things that she suggested I do from the beginning. And I imagine this will be a good success story in the spring market when you come to list.
yeah, I hope so. And I mean, as much as I do, I know he wants to get as much money for his house. And I think this is the best way to do it. Thank God he's not in any sort of rush or time crunch. And then in the new year, we'll dive back into looking at homes and then getting this one on the market.
What are some of your favorite architectural styles and things that you find are popular, at least on the residential side?
I find, I mean, especially in New England, colonials
Hmm.
and capes.
Well,
My
I don't
favorite
mind a
is,
cape as long as I don't love the stairs in the middle of the cape. Like when you can open up a cape and
yeah,
move the stairs to the side, I think it makes a transformational difference.
yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah.
that's also me coming from a California background where everything is ranch and open.
Yes.
But I will say this. So people often ask if I miss Southern California, and I'm always like, you
Hmm.
know what? This is going to sound really weird, but the one thing I really didn't love about California was the architecture. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
Really?
everything is stucco and one story and like
Oh,
Spanish,
yeah, yeah.
like adobo style homes. I'm like, I love, I do. I like a good colonial.
Yeah.
I like a good ranch, but I like a good colonial. I like a craftsman style home. And
Yes,
you don't get a ton of that creativity
I
out there. It's very
know.
modern and boxy.
Yeah, I mean, these developers, and no hate to this, whatever, but people are trying to make money and they want to get things out as soon as possible. So having that cookie cutter floor plan and those buildings and using the same blueprint over and over with the same materials, that's what you're going to see
Well, let's
a
dive
lot
into
with
that a
these.
little bit because that's the other sort of layer to we spoke about older homes and coming in with an architect's eye and kind of figuring out where we can make improvements. But I imagine your background, training, and education come in even more valuable when you're looking at new construction, right? And
Yeah, I mean,
homes and custom builds. Can you speak to a little bit about how you can help people translate that process, but also those plans into a vision?
like when they're working with new builds.
Yeah. Like, I mean, a lot of times it's a spec home. You're going to make some customizations. You're going to make some changes. Sometimes it's a limited package, and other times you have more flexibility and creativity. But I imagine working with a realtor who has your background gives them, as a home buyer, a tremendous advantage when looking at new construction.
Oh yeah, I mean, as for style, it's all about preference. I mean, I love it. It's something worth admiring, but you have to be wary about some of the builders because a lot of people might just throw things up and not pay attention to the details. Like I'll notice when trim isn't, you know, sealed all the way, and that will cause issues with heating and cooling and water and things like that. So even when you have a new build home, and I have a client going in and, you know, the market's hot and a lot of people might be waiving their inspections, I try to always push them to have an inspection anyways because I'm not an inspector, but you don't know what you're getting.
Hmm.
So even with those new build homes, you do have to be careful. And I would never try and deter someone for, you know, taking away knowledge of a home. So I say, you know, even though it is new builds, like you should get an inspection.
Hmm.
Like you don't know what's under these walls, you don't know what's under these floors. Like, so new
Most
build's
of the
beautiful
complaints
and
that
it,
I've had from clients where they come back a year later and they tell me all the horror stories, most of them are new builds. You know, like
yeah,
basements flooding. I've had two clients where basements have issues, one roof. Just not necessarily poorly built, but not up to standards and things
yeah,
go wrong type stuff.
yeah. And these builders will just, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them will just throw up a house and keep going. And that, like, that's what you see with a lot of new construction. So you just gotta be careful and keep an eye on those things and get inspections and
And having someone who can go in, because most new builds you're going to have a long build process, so you might have 8 months, 6 months, whatever, of construction. So having a realtor who understands what they're looking at, being able to walk through and being like, that's not up to what I think we reviewed when we looked at spec materials or looked at this blueprint. Like, why, what are we changing here and why? I
right.
think having someone with your level of expertise would be a huge value add for those types of clients.
Yeah, yeah, especially. And I would love to get into real estate with developers and be able to watch that whole process from the design with the blueprints and CAD to, you know, buying the plot and watching them build and then sell the house and being a part of all of it and, you know, keeping an eye and making sure that things are being built the right way and, you know, they're going back to the architecture, like you have to go to the town and you have to get permits. And I love just the whole thing. And then
Nobody's
being able to go
ever
out
said
and
that. Not even the people that work at the building departments have ever said they love building permits.
no, 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 just
I love the
making sure
process.
everything
I
is
love the process of municipalities and applying for building permits. It's my favorite.
it's my favorite. Just making sure everything is on track and because I've had to do that for Chipotle and all those. And it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding and on both sides, both the architecture and real estate. So
It's also really valuable as a realtor to know how to access those things because I had a client looking at a place right now. They ended up withdrawing from it because they weren't thrilled with the quote unquote new roof that had been put on. And they certainly weren't thrilled with the very old patio that looked, or deck that looked like it was sort of handmade by the
yeah.
homeowner. And so having a realtor who knows how to go in, pull the permits, review them, make sure things were done up to code can be a really valuable asset as well.
Yeah, and to go off of the code topic, there are some houses that I see on the market that I go with clients and they'll say like 4 bedrooms and the fourth bedroom isn't up to code. And what that means is in a bedroom, you have to have a window and you have to have a closet. So a lot of these list agents, or not a lot of them, but I have seen they like a closet or something as a bedroom, and I'm like, this is not, you can't do
This
this.
is an
Like,
office. Yeah. And before listing, so this is just a personal, not for you piece of advice, but if you're a seller out there listening, one thing, so I sold a home in Medford once, and I looked at the property card and I was like, 3 bedrooms. I was like, it's not 3 bedrooms, it's a 4 bedroom house. Or I think it was 2 bedrooms, and whatever it was missing a bedroom. I was like, this is very clearly a bedroom. Like it's a weird bedroom. It's a very weird bed. It was shaped like the letter L if you made it at no,
yeah,
like a J. It was shaped like the letter J. So it was like a hallway, and then it looped around and it came back the other side. So you could put like the twin bed behind like a half distant wall. There was a window, it had a closet. It was a bedroom, but it wasn't on
okay,
the, and so like I had, to your point, like I went to the Medford building department. I was like, I need someone to come out and walk through the house because this is a bedroom and I would like it updated on the property card before we list, because I want to make sure that we're listing it accurately as a 4 bedroom or 3 bedroom or whatever it was home.
yeah,
So that's like, if you're a seller out there pulling that property card, looking at it before you go to list, if there's something inaccurate like square footage or the number of bedrooms or number of bathrooms, making sure that if you did add a bathroom and you did it without a permit, don't call the building department to have them come
yes,
inspect it. But that's between us.
yeah,
But if there's something that was there when you moved in or that you added with a permit and isn't reflected on the permit on the property card, by all means, like have them come out and do it, because that's a great tip, Angela.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's important, especially, yes, like as sellers, and as a realtor you know, instead of being an agent and a realtor, you have to follow those. We have a fiduciary duty to be as honest and ethical with our clients as possible. And I take that seriously. And especially when it comes to things like this that you could get in a lot of trouble for.
I'm laughing because the one that I was referencing where the deck was very clearly an issue, we sent that, the buyer was like, no, I'm out. You're not making any concessions. You put this roof on. I told you I didn't want you to do it. I said I wanted to do it. You're not fixing the deck. That's very clearly a problem. Like, we're out. And
Yeah.
we sent them the inspection report being like, here's the plainly obvious issues right here. And now, by the way, you as list agent X have the fiduciary responsibility and the moral obligation to disclose that, because we've disclosed it to you.
Absolutely.
And I will be very curious if they do.
You have to let me know.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to it's one of the properties I'm going to keep an eye on. Similar to that condo that we had, that we kept an eye on for many years after that listing was pulled and put back up again at the very wrong price, despite us telling them that there hasn't been a home in that town that sold for less than $100,000 on list price.
4 times over.
It's crazy. They're just going to keep listing it, but they're never going to get that. It's just not what the market says. No, Angela, I've really enjoyed working with you. You've been wonderful. Your clients give you, excellent reviews, and it's really been a pleasure having you as part of. I always say that referral partners are tools in a toolbox, and I'm not here to call you a tool, but it's really awesome having a partner that has this level of expertise that I can lean on when I have questions. So thank you for doing this and for being a valuable teammate. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And I love working with you. I refer all my clients to you, and it's been, you make things so smooth, so easy, and same goes to you. All my clients have nothing but good things to
That's part
say.
of the podcast. That's the only reason I brought you on. You can stop recording now.
Just kidding. Keep giving me compliments.
No, thank you very much for making the time to do this. I love the Christmas tree in the background. Very clearly a very nice eye on your part. So well done.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Jason. And I look forward to working with you many times over again.
Let's make it a good year.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Finance with Factor. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Then if you really like us, open another podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or really wherever else you enjoy podcasts. Search Finance with Factor and do it again. The more places you like, share, and follow helps our ratings. But that can be our little secret. Have a question about today's episode or an idea for an upcoming episode? Post a comment. For more content, follow Jason Factor on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Finance with Factor. All content discussed on Finance with Factor is self-published by Jason Factor, Senior Loan Officer, NMLS number 1401985. All rates, guidelines, and advice shared on this episode is subject to change. To contact Jason directly or for a full set of disclosures, visit his website at jasonfactor.com.
Jason Factor, NMLS number 1401985. Movement Mortgage supports equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 39179. NMLS, consumeraccess.org.